Welcome to another one of my CV2 tutorials. Today we will be covering logic. The logic is all about Booleans. So if you don't know what a Boolean is, I advise you to go back to one of my previous tutorials, which I've done, about variables. And one of those is Boolean, where I explain what they are and how they are used. So logic is something that you also cannot avoid because there's a lot of logic in coding. So that means there's a lot of logic in circuitry. It can be simple logic, like comparing a player's username to your own. For example, if I compare one of my friends' usernames to mine, the logic will say that it is not true, meaning that the Boolean will be false. Now, I will be trying to go through these as fast, but still as non-complicated as possible. I spawned in, you will see later, a bunch of very basic and very useful and very frequently used circuitries that will help you understand logic more. So without further ado, let's go on with my tutorial. So right here, I have a few chips spawned in. Now, of course, I'm not gonna throw all of these in your face all at once. We're going to go through them one by one. And I also have another circuit that will tell us and show us pretty much when something gets executed or not. Now we'll be using the if circuit very frequently because the if circuit is here to check logic. So is the if value, but I'll get to that in a second. All of these are things that check logic. So they check values or they check booleans, and the if checks the end result of pretty much logic chips. So what I'm going to do is I'll be placing the if chip right here, and I'll be explaining it in a second, and I'll be putting this one over here. So let's jump into the if chip. The if chip is very simple. On the input side, we have an execution pin, meaning that as soon as we execute our if chip, the if chip will check if our Boolean right here is true. If our Boolean will be true, the chip will execute only through this pin right here called then. So in a sentence, if this Boolean is true, then do this. But if it's false, right, it will execute through this one. So if our Boolean is true, which it's not, then we cannot do something that is true. Else means the opposite of pretty much then, right? It'll execute through this. So in short, when this is true, outputs here. When this is false, outputs here. So let me show you this right quick. I'll hook up my button over to my if, and I'll change my condition to true, and my then pin to my show notification. So now if I press it, we have hello on the screen, meaning that if the condition is true, which it is, then execute this this chip, which shows us a notification. Now if I hook it up to the else pin and press it, nothing happens. But if we set it to false and push it, there you go. Since the condition is not true, it will only output a signal through here, and there you go, that's your if chip. So, now let's get onto logic. We will start off with AND. AND is a very simple chip. It compares two booleans, and if they're the same, it outputs true, for example. Right? So if both are true, then this is true. If one is false, it's false, and if both are false, it is false. This is not exactly the same as the equals chip, because the AND only accepts two true booleans. If one of them is false, the result will always be false. Well, the equals chip, as you can see, it has white pins. White pins mean it accepts any form of value. So if these two given values are identically the same, this is true. But right now we have an error because there is nothing given, right? So let me show real quick. Both of these are false because what we have stored in here is false. Since false and false are the exact same value, it's true. But if we have true on the bottom here, so we have false and true, it's false because they are not the same. Next up, we have greater or equal. Now, this is self-explanatory like most of these here that I'll show you. if my value here on the A is greater or the same as mine on B, the result will be true. But if not, of course, it's going to be false. Same thing for the greater than. These are almost the same, just that this one requires the value to be greater, but this one still accepts values that are greater or the exact same as the one given. We have OR. You see, OR is true if one of the given booleans are true. So either this one or this one can be true, or the result to be true. At the moment, we have two false booleans, meaning that our result is false. But as soon as we change one to true, the boolean is now true, because one of those is true. And if we set both of them to true, it is still true, because the minimum requirement for the OR chip is that one of them is true. But, of course, both of them can be true, and it'll output true. Now the next one, I'll be leaving the if value last, because this one is the most different from all of these other ones. We have less or equal, which of course you can compare to greater or equal just in the exact opposite thing. So if this value right here is less or exactly the same as this one, the result will be true. And this one requires the values to be less. Now, the last one is the if value. The if value is a little bit of the same type as the if chip, just that the if value does not output a signal, it outputs a value. So I'll show you this in action because that is a lot easier to show than just tell. So what I'm going to do is spawn in an int variable, right? Spawn it in. Now at the moment we only have the number 0 stored in a variable here, but that's okay. We can use it as an example. We'll hook it up to then, right? So what did I do here? What did I even do with this if value by hooking up this chip right here? I gave it a value that it is able to output. So the if value, if true, it will use whatever is in this pin right here, so then, and output it as the result. So if this is true, then the value will be 0 in my case because we give it 0, and it will output 0, right? So I'm going to change the else pin, my bad, to 5, meaning that if our boolean is false, it will not use this value, but it will use this one and output it here as seen above. And if I set it to true, if this is true, then use this, output it, there you go, as a 0. So this is it for our simple and hopefully short logic tutorial. Of course, there are more, but these are the most simple ones that I'm able to explain to you very easily and get you on your feet to use them in real scenarios. Now, best case, right off the bat, would be PvPs. Let's say you have a target score of 30. One player needs 30 eliminations for the game to end, and that's where our logic comes in. It'll compare the score your player has with 30, and if it is equal, in my case, right? If it's equal, we're going to do something after that. So in PvP's case, we will stop the game because the target's been reached, the player won the game, and that is it. I hope that this tutorial was simple enough for you that you understood what I was saying. If not, or if you enjoyed the video, please let me know in the comments. I would love to hear your feedback as I have a year ago. And I hope I'll see you in the next one. If you liked the tutorial or my previous ones, please do like and subscribe. It'll help me a lot. It'll keep me motivated to make even more content for all of you so you can be on your feet, so you can do things on your own, so you can be confident, because that's what I'm trying to reach. I'm trying to teach a lot of you circuits that might have not gotten into it yet. So yeah, if you enjoyed it, as said, like, subscribe, let me know in the comments what you think, and I hope I'll see you in the next one.